I think most of us were just at a very interesting and compelling presentation about copyright that you, in fact, moderated. And I was wondering, what's your biggest takeaway from what you heard this morning?
Now, there's a question. I have lots of takeaways. One is that we were fortunate to have a group of panelists that were so able and experienced and library friendly. I mean, I think our universities, and I don't know colleges that well, I think our universities have superior lawyers in the copyright space. The Yale attorney, the lead attorney on copyright, Cherie Carter Galvin, was just wonderful. She came out of commercial practice in New York, entertainment. She got it right away about what a university does. And her position was, how can I help you do this and meet your mission? Not, you can't do that because we might get sued. And I think one of the things that I remembered as I saw Jack and Lauren was that they are kind of the tip of the iceberg of a number of knowledgeable, wonderful people. And to the extent that libraries can develop those close working relationships with these people and have them as kind of honorary members of staff, we do very, very well, because we know that this ground is shifting and changing all the time. And the thing that was interesting to me in my little sort of timetable was that most of the 70s and 80s and 90s stuff that was litigated was not digital. That was simpler. And so another takeaway that I had was, in the digital, everything is more complicated, it's more scaled up. It sets precedents in incredible ways. You have Google and Author Aids Guild and all of these incredible things, and they are just going to proliferate. So perhaps our attorneys, provided they're the right kind of attorneys, need to be kind of our best friends. And we need to know what's going on. We need to understand this. I mean, I really applaud Katina for bringing this kind of information both in your magazine, where you have the legal columns, and there are several pages, every issue, and for making this a topic of various events at Charleston.
You said we're going to have a long arm of the law 3, right?
I did.
Yes.
But I also mentioned in the introduction that IFLA has done a most amazing thing, and that Winston Tabb probably deserves enormous amounts of leadership credit. Nobody else, well, I shouldn't say nobody else could have done this, but he was committed to do it, and that was to draft the draft treaty for the library exceptions, TLIB, and to get a hearing at WIPO in November, right about now, and to start the conversation at an international level, so that not just the U.S. can have the benefit of things like fair use with all of its downsides, but all of its beauties, but that this can be a conversation held around the world. And I think that is just amazing.
We can do both.
Amazing.
And I thought that was one of the takeaways for me, was I didn't realize the international implications to copyright and the complications that international copyright law brings to the table and all this.
Yeah.
You need an international copyright panel.
Well, the long arm of the law 3.
Yeah.
There you go.
But it has to be done in such a way that people here feel that it has some relevance to them. Because if it's all about bringing better legislation to, Rwanda or something, that's a really nice thing, but
it's not impacting our daily lives.
Yeah.
Well, what was interesting was there were people who came in specifically for this panel, for your panel. So I mean, I think that there's an increase. I've always been a little bit frustrated that people weren't more interested in legal issues. I mean, in another life, I'd love to be a lawyer, but I was especially interested that so many people worked to get to your panel. They wanted to come.
That's nice to hear. And the IFLA Copyright Committee was formed as one of IFLA's high-level committees. There are several. One of them is preservation. Another one is bibliographic standards. Another one is freedom of literacy and freedom to read, and copyright, and there may be one or two others, but these they're core committees, so they don't fall into any divisional structure. Well, they kind of do, but they really report up at the top level also to the governing board. And CLM Copyright and Legal Matters was organized, I don't know, 6, 8 years ago, as one of those high-level committees. Mary Ann Scott, who was just finishing her term as the National Librarian of Canada, was the first chair. And the first couple or 3 years, 4 years were all about copyright. And then suddenly it stopped being all about copyright. There was the TRIPS agreement, which is a trade agreement. What does that have to do with libraries? Well, you find out that trade agreements have a whole lot to do with libraries. Some kind of audio-visual services for the blind. What does that have to do with libraries? Everything. And so it's been a committee that as it's taken on, you know, sort of there are about 30 members, I think, and they're lead legal people in national libraries for each of these countries. And it's just amazing how long the long arm of the law is. We tend to focus on copyright because it's the big, it's the elephant in the room, but there's a lot other as well.
Well, at Fiesole in St. Petersburg, just this past year, there was a gentleman from the British Library saying that copyright isn't important anymore. It's licensing contracts, the contract law.
So,
We have taken up
Are we done?
a lot of your time.
Is there something we
it
should
did
have
take an
asked?
hour.
Yeah, is there something we should have asked? Or actually, Katina has a better question. Is there a question that you'd have asked yourself?
No, I don't know. I just look at everything that there is to do, and I say, you know, what is the right thing? What's the most important thing? Right. I thought that when I stepped back from University Library Administration, I would be able to look back at that and say, well, I know what they should be doing. It's the most important thing for a library to do, but I'm not sure I know that. And so I keep saying the most important thing is to apply your talents to something you know that you can do well that will make a difference. And then it's the aggregate of all of that. It's Jack Bernard's, you know, the shoulders of giants. There are no more giants. Well, there are some, but they're not that many. And it's all of us little micro atoms sitting around that.
There's a cumulative effect.
Yes,
that we have.
yes.